Dear friends, we would like to invite our friends, if possible, if you can move forward so that we can see more of you. Move to the front rows, if possible, and the chairs can also move up too. Thank you.
So, dear respected Thai, dear Sangha, good morning, Happy New Year, everyone. First of all, we will listen to three sound of the bell for beginning question and answer. When you hear the sound of the bell, please go back to your breathing and sit beautifully and comfortably and relax and letting go on thinking in the mind and feel at ease in your body. Enjoy breathing. So, dear respected Sangha, welcome to the day of mindfulness at Blue Cliff Monastery for the new arrival today. And also happy to see the retreatants for the holiday retreat. You still here with us for the last day. And we hope that last night you have a good rest, a good sleep. After we celebrate together, being is wonderful, being and a lot of happiness, being together. So this morning we have a question and answer. So I would like to introduce to you our brother and our sister. First, myself is Srs Hoa N. You can call me Sister Flower easily. Adornment by flower. So on the left-hand side of me is Brother P Tuyen, mean Dharma choice. He so he give a very good Dharma talk and also sing very nice. And lots of fun and joyful, and he have a lot of joyfulness when we've been with him. And on my right side is Sister Gioi N, mean adornment by precept, but usually the people call her Sister Chu Choice. Yeah, and actually, she's from the royal family. We always teasing her is like Sister Princess. You can see her beautiful Sister Princess. And the far from my right hand, my brother's Pháp Mạng, fulfill Dharma fulfill, and he's a lot of love to the earth and protecting environment. He always taking care about the earth holder, taking care about how to live in mindfully consumption, and a lot of like he usually, give us advice about solar system, so on. So please, if you want have any question about the earth, protect environment, you can bring to him. Okay. And he also have mother here. Her name is Elaine. Also, she live with us like a resident. So now we would like to invite you to give question, and the question is from your heart. The question about your practice, about your happiness, your difficulty, how you live in happiness in our daily life, and how to solve the difficulty, so we can share from our experiment, from our life. And on the question, we will share from our heart, and we avoid intellectual question, because intellectual question you can go to Google. With the Google, we answer you everything. But here we answer from our heart. So any question, please raise your hand. We have the microphone in the back. And so Sister Ubak, she hold the microphone. And my sister will write on the board on your question. So you know that your question can bring a lot of benefits, not only for you, but also for many people in this meditation hall, also in the world. Because today, question and answer will be posted on YouTube. So your question may be a million people get benefits, not only 100 people. So if you're shy, you can stand in the back and give the question, or if you can write on the paper and pass to us. Maybe we for priority for the young people, the teenage people here, so the young adult.
Hi, I'm Jin. So I was wondering, when we do meditation, do we only focus on breathing, or do we meditate on concentration? Or I think in one of the Dharma talks, the sister mentioned meditating on an object of focus. I wonder what are other objects of focus that we could be thinking of. For example, I read about looking deeply. So I wonder if meditation is a time where we can look deeply into our suffering too. Because a lot of our practice is on conscious breathing. So I haven't been given much guidance on looking deeply during meditation. I have another question. So it actually relates to my first question in the sense that in the teachings, there are times where we say that when we face with a situation, we accept it as it is, and especially if we are not sure, we accept it as it is and let it go. I think I practiced that for a while, and because I have a perception. And then I choose to, live in the present moment instead of examining what is the causes of the perception that I'm having. I don't know why I'm crying. I need more calm in me. So basically, let me be calm and ask this question again. So when perception arises, there is a reason for it to happen, for there to be a thought. To let it go over time, I feel that there is certain suffering that are not addressed. I wonder, when do we get the idea that, or when do we get the signal that we should actually look deeply into it? When should we let go? So, thank you.
I think it's okay to be crying. If you cry, just let it cry.
My name is Stephanie, and I have a question about injustice. In reading the fourth of the mindfulness trainings, the sentence about the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person kind of stuck with me because I feel angry about injustice a lot most of the time, and it's not always angry at a person, it's just sometimes angry about the systems that cause injustice, and I don't know what to do with that anger, and I know that part of the practice is working to have justice, so it seems to me that injustice should make me uncomfortable, if not angry, and I'm just not sure what I should be striving for in terms of that, and what to do when I do feel angry about injustice.
This is a follow-up to what Gioi N was talking about and asking, and also the last question, which to me is, how do you maintain your integrity and the island of the self if you let everything go?
Can you repeat again your question? Clear?
Sure. If you want to have personal integrity, which is my interpretation of the expression island of the self, how can you let everything go? Sometimes there are things that you do have to say no to. Otherwise, there is no personal integrity. And otherwise, the island of the self becomes flooded.
So we have one more question. Two more. So that's it. Yeah, we receive all the question, but we will look at the time. So this Uba, he first.
With deep listening and being compassionate and really being with the person, how do you make sure to still remain separate and not lose yourself in their emotions and, not, become overwhelmed as a result of like really intentionally and, deeply and empathically being with the other person? Thank you.
Maybe we answer 5 questions first, and we still time, then you can bring another question. Is okay? Yeah. So now we will listen to one sound the bell, and I would like to invite my brother and sister to answer the question.
Dear respected teachers, dear beloved community, which question would you like me to answer? I think that the question that struck me is actually a little bit, it's the last question. About practicing deep listening is your question? Yeah. So that's number 5, how to practice deep listening without getting caught up in the other person's situation or emotion. It sounded like emotion, in the other person's emotion. I think the easy answer requires some work from us is that we have to practice. So if we if we practice to listen to ourselves first, and we practice, we have cultivate our own capacity to be present for the feelings that we have. And it relates to some of the other questions too, because that feeling could be anger also, or it could be sadness. And those are strong feelings, strong emotions. And they're very important, actually. That is my understanding, that without feeling, right? Can you imagine your life without feeling? You will not feel happy or sad or angry, or even all the subtle kinds of emotions that are in between, like different kinds of pleasant and unpleasant feelings. So can you imagine without what his life would be like without those feelings? Pretty boring, pretty flat, right? So it's our emotions that make our life meaningful, and they also they direct our action. They inspire us to act. They give us energy, a lot of energy. So the practice, I think, as far as I understand it for myself, is not to be carried away by that energy. So to have enough space to recognize first, like, oh, this is a feeling of sadness that I feel, or this is a feeling of anger that I feel, or frustration, jealousy, and this is the feeling of I like this, or I don't like it. That's also a really important kind of feeling to pay attention to. And then as you cultivate, that's basic practice of mindfulness, and we call it also mere recognition, just to recognize what is there without having to judge it or push it away, but to have the capacity to be there with it and really experience it. First of all in the body, because everything that happens to us, we experience through our body. We're embodied, and without our body, we don't exist. And without our body, we cannot do the things that we need to do, like to embrace the people we love, or say the kind things that we want to say, so our actions are very important and driven by our emotion and our feelings. So to have the space to be with and to understand what's happening inside of us, in our body, and to have enough space to understand that, and then to be able to choose how to respond based on that information, So maybe if we have a sad feeling, then we may want to respond with care for ourselves or for another person, right? So sadness, sometimes it can tell us that life is very important. It's precious to us. That's one reason sometimes we feel sad. And so as we grow our strength, our capacity to be with ourselves in our practice of meditation and mindfulness, we get more clarity, more insight, and more space to hold and embrace and understand and be with our feeling and experience. And when that happens, then it's easy to do that for another person. Easier, let's say, because in the same way we share our nervous system together, our brains and bodies. We're always communicating. Most of the communication happens below the level of what we say. It's our body language, and we receive that energy in our, as human beings, we are adapted to that. We evolved as mammals to be able to do that, to be present for ourselves and other people. So I think that you have to practice to get, that is the short answer. You have to keep practicing so that you have space for yourself first, and then you have space for the other person, and you can help them. When someone else is feeling a strong feeling, the first thing to do is come back to your own stability and generate that stability. Then you can offer that stability to the other person just by being there in your body. I hope it makes some sense. Is it okay? Something useful? Okay, thank you. Thanks for letting me share.
Dear Sangha, my name is Brother Dhamma Choice. I would like to answer the question that's when to letting go and look deeply into perceptions. So, because when we hold something on, that's why we need to let it go. If you don't hold anything, you don't need to let it go, right? And our perceptions, most of our perceptions is wrong perceptions. For example, in my room, I have a hair dryer machine. So one brother came to my room, why you don't have hair? You need a hair dryer machine in your room. I don't know if he means to me or not, but I don't know. But I answered that my feet so cold, I need to dry my feet. People, they use a hair dryer for dry their hair, but I use to dry my feet. So cold in the winter, especially I'm from Vietnam. I came here freezing, like live in a cooler. So cold. Always my feet so cold. So I need the hair dryer machine in order to dry my feet, make it warm so I can enjoy my each step for walking meditation example. After came back from walking meditation, I need to dry my feet, warm it up again, so cold. And one lay practitioner, he came here, he saw like that, he offered me shoes, boots, for can walk on snow, keep warm my feet. So thank you so much for the people so kind to me. So when we have a wrong perception about things, so we need to ask ourselves again, are we sure about that things or not? So we check it again. We meditate on that object. So we need to ask that person or we need to ask ourselves. Sometimes if you have seen a monk and go to Starbucks, drink coffee, you may, why the monks go to Starbucks to drink coffee? You supposed don't go to Starbucks. You only meditate in a meditation hall only, or practice in a monastery only. But sometimes he drives 7 hours on the streets. He needs to stop, and the coffee can wake him up, you know. So with that kind of deep understanding, so we can understand the people around us, and we love them more. Then we just judge them, and we discriminate them. You are different from me, or why you don't do the same? You are monks, you're supposed to do this or that, you know. So we have something most of our perceptions is wrong perception, created all the time in our minds by the habit energy from our society transmitted to us, or from our parents, from our ancestors. Many conditions come together, so made us like this. So when we practice looking deeply into ourselves by meditation, use mindful breathing to come back to ourselves and look deeply. Do I sure it is right or not? Always ask ourselves, that is really sure for me or not? So we check it again, so we can answer for ourselves, and we transform our perception, become a right perceptions. So if that person come to my room and ask, "Oh, why do you have a hair dryer machine in your room? Maybe you use for something?" I would answer, it's a very right perception that I use, very good for myself. That's for example, where different people have different, different things in their life. So we judge like that, or we have a wrong perception about that person, or our beloved one. We may cause our suffering and other sufferings. So we need to share and to ask with compassion and deep understanding, so we don't bring more wrong perception to ourselves and to others, and we liberated ourselves, become free. You are a person free. You don't cause in anything else. You are happy. You don't hold anything more in your hands, in your minds. When you hold a lot of things, wrong perception of fear or anger or jealousy, you are suffering. When we letting go all that kind of perceptions, that kind of mental formations, you are free. So when that kind of mental formation it comes up in yourself, you may breathe in and out, calm down first, and then look deeply into that object and how to transform that, become better. So letting go of anger, letting go of fear, letting go of wrong perception, become a right perception. And we become a happy person, happier. In our habit energy that we hold in a lot of things, we jealous the other persons, we anger with the other person. If you hold a cup of tea in your hand for 5 minutes, you feel tired, right? Really tired. If you hold something really light in your hand, but for a long time, really tired. But why do we hold a lot of things in our heads? Our heads so long, in our minds so long. That person say to us something month ago, we still hold here. Hold it in our minds, So better letting go that perceptions. And later on we practice deeply, we may understand them better. So the gatha for us to practice every morning, that is waking up this morning, I smile. First thing, just smile to ourselves. Give love to ourselves first. Don't do anything else. The first beginning of the day, just smile to ourselves. Give love to ourselves first. Nobody loves you by yourself. You love yourself first. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live deeply in each moment. I vow to live deeply in each moment. And look at beings with eyes of compassion. You see, you already, at the beginning of the day, you already make a vow that look at beings with eyes of compassion. That's something, first of all, make you happy first. make you a great person first, then something else. First, you smile to yourself. How fortunate that I'm still alive. I still can smile. I still can breathe after long sleep. You know, first of all, celebration that you are still alive, and smile to yourself. And give compassion to yourself. Breathe deeply, and then live deeply in each moment. Take one step with breathing in, take other step with breathing out. Enjoy each step, celebration your life in each step and each breath. And then another vow that I vow to look at beings with the eyes of compassion. If you don't look yourself with the eyes of compassion, how can you look others with the eyes of compassion? Right? First, we look ourselves with the eyes of compassion first. Forgive ourselves if you did something wrong to others. If you may be unmindful to make others suffer, forgive yourself. Don't continue to complain yourself. Letting go. Letting go. First, happy with yourself and accept yourself first. And then forgive others. Maybe others, people, they need love. They have wrong perception like us, you know. They need care. They need understanding. Please just give them with the eyes of compassion. Like that, you already feel relief a lot of suffering. You feel lighter after practice. Just a gatha for the morning practice. You may see that in the book, Stepping into Freedom. A lot of gathas for us to practice, a lot of poems. So we practice like that in our daily life. We're letting go a lot of sadness, a lot of fear, a lot of suffering, and we be happy person, and we can help others. If we hold in a lot of things in our minds, occupy so much things, we don't have more space to love ourselves and others. Letting go, that's very good things to practice. But letting go of what? Of wrong perceptions about others, about ourselves. Letting go of hatred, of anger, of jealousies, a lot of things. Everybody, we have sometimes we have unmindful, so we do something wrong, but we, with love and compassion and understanding, so we can forgive, and we can do better by practice beginning anew, to share, to listen. So thank you for your question.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, I realized that whatever I'm doing the first day of the new year, I will be doing for the rest of the new year. So I hope I'm not, I will not be just do Q&A for the rest of the year. I'd like to answer number one about when we meditate, what objects do we focus on? I think the Buddha taught about the four establishments of mindfulness. when we come back to ourselves and follow our breathing, we can be aware of one of the four things. And the first things is the body, which is the breathing, and also the actions of the body, or the different organs that are inside the body or outside the body, and or the parts outside the body. And the second is about the feelings. And the third object is our object of mind, which is the third one is the perceptions, and the fourth one is the object of our mind, which is everything else that are there in the world, the external conditions. So when I practice, I like to be in the present moment and just to be there with whatever is coming up. So it could be a pain inside my body that I'm feeling, or a feeling that is coming up at the moment, or some kind of perception that I give rise to. Or if we open our eyes, then we see things around us, and that's our object of focus. So it is whatever we choose to focus on, and we can pick one or two things so that we're not dispersed. That's why when we meditate, it's nice to just have closed eyes, or close our eyes so that we're not distracted by things or people around us, and just to be with our breathing. And sometimes in my practice, sometimes there's a poem or a song come up, and I know that many of you are musicians here and songwriters. We enjoy very much your songs yesterday. So sometimes in meditation, anything can come up, and we just recognize what it is. Sometimes I just take out a piece of paper and I write down my thoughts and feelings, or a new poem that is coming out, then I just write it down. So to be in the present moment. Recently in my Dharma sharing group, I think most of us share the same thing, that we want to be in the moment, because nowadays life is so dispersed, and it can carry us away. And seems like the young people are facing with a lot of anxiety and fear for the future or the present. So being in the moment is the best tool that we can do to be grounded, so that we are not too caught up by many things that might happen in the future, or things that were happening in the past, or even in the present moment. So, and if there is a lot of suffering that we are facing, it's also nice to find a way to balance ourselves, so that we kind of nurture ourselves with more of the elements of joy and peace and compassion before we can touch those very sensitive or very deep suffering that are in us. Because Thai say, if we're like a sick person, and if we're not very well, and we try to have an operation or something, then that could be very detrimental. So you want to be well in order to have the operation. So the same, if we want to really face our deep suffering and take care of it, then we really have to strengthen ourselves with more positive elements. So thank you for listening.
So, dear respected Thai Sangha, now we have two questions left. I think I will answer the number 4. How can you maintain personal integrity and also practice letting go? So actually I didn't understand the words in English, the integrity, and my sister just translate to me. It means something you keep right or wrong for yourself, right? It's something right. Huh? I have 2 kind of answer this question. When I sit here, I'm sitting here, and I got my toothache for the last week. Until now, I'm still pain. Sometimes the nerve system, is go up, and I have to, but I cannot do like, so painful, So when I sit in front of you, I need to keep my personality, my posture be more beautiful. And I have to practice breathing in and letting go the pain inside. I accept my painful feeling. Sometimes it go up, and I'm still sit still and beautiful posture in front of the people. So I'm still keep letting go the pain in my body. So this is the answer for the physical feeling, the physical, the posture. And the second is about the mentality. Sometimes you take responsibility for one thing, one job. You have to give your responsibility is more beautiful, But sometimes in your work, you have to, you conflict with someone, but you have to keep your personality, your personal integrity, and you have to letting go, For example, like was the elder sister. I have to taking care of my younger sister. So if my younger sister do something not right, I can remind. And maybe my younger sister not very happy, and I have to accept what the unhappy they are, but I'm still keep my responsibility as the elder sister, So and I have to letting go the difficulty, the relationship, and to build the new relationship between us in how to build the sisterhood. In the practice of mindfulness, it's letting go your anger, your misperception, and to build again your sisterhood and to build again your sangha. So this is you still keep your maintain your personal integrity. Like you still do the thing you think that is right for the sangha, for the community, for the environment. But if you see something difficulty on the way you work, you letting go and you continue your path, your work. It's not mean when you see something difficulty and you stop and you don't do it anymore. So that's one we cannot, maintain our personal integrity. And so this is my practice at the present moment now. I don't know you understand or not. Yeah? Do you understand? Okay, thank you very much. Now we have one more question. I don't know any brother and sister want to share. The second number 4, how to work with anger about injustice and also work to change injustice. So after this question answer, we can have another question.
Dear beloved teachers, dear beloved community, I will do my best to share a little bit on question number 3, how to work with anger about injustice and also to work to change injustice. That is a very beautiful question. Thank you. That is something I think it's very close to the spirit of our tradition. You know that in the roots of our tradition, our teacher, Thai Thich Nhat Hanh, he was in Vietnam during the time of the Vietnam War, and a lot of injustice, I think you can say. There is a lot of violence, and people are suffering very deeply. I think that there were many times he had to face very strong kinds of emotion, like anger, despair also. Can come up in situations like that. So I think that that's one reason why those trainings exist, that they have that language. Also, if you look at our 14 mindfulness trainings, they also speak about addressing injustice and also about training ourselves to be open and not caught in our views or dogmatism, which were a lot of the roots of that conflict, as well as discrimination, which is a big part of a lot of our suffering. So if we look now, so at that time, you know, his I think his insight was that they had to act. It was not enough to simply sit in the meditation hall to remain kind of passive, even though that can be very powerful to send the energy of peace. And he felt compelled to help organize people to act in the society. So they formed the School for Youth and Social Service in Vietnam, which had a role of helping in the villages and helping to transform the conditions that were to support the people, but also to transform some of the underlying conditions of discrimination and fear. There's a lot of fear, so people didn't trust each other, I think. And so coming now into our time here, and we are in the United States, so we can, looking deeply into our society, we see there are also very deep wounds in our society. It's very clear. We do not have to look very far. We can, and it's can be overwhelming at times if we look at that suffering without support or stability. So we know that people may be being put in prison today, right now, or maybe being victims of violence or abuse because of their race or gender or other aspects of discrimination. So that is very real, and I think that it's also very natural to feel, when we look at that, to feel something, and important that we can feel that. And we do have to, I think it's important to ask ourselves, when we feel, though, it relates to the other question I answered, is just how do we want to respond, and what can we do with that? And because the feeling is a kind of energy, and so if we have too much anger, if our anger is strong, it can push us to act in ways that actually counteract, don't help to alleviate what's happening, the causes and conditions. So with our feeling, we also need, so ideally we would want to take that anger and use that energy to try to see what we can do, right? To find So we have to combine it with our kind of our insight, our wisdom, and usually we need a group of people to do that. So we have to sit together and share about what's happening, and we have to work together as a community to make a response of some kind, so we can see, like, we can direct our energy into something wholesome and positive. So just like my brother was sharing over there too, we want to be able to, on a personal level, take our anger and move it into something like compassion. So the transition for me happens when we start to understand. If you see that the roots of the discrimination and the violence come from fear and ignorance, so lack of understanding, and also maybe that's transmitted over generations, wrong perceptions, then instead of blaming the society or the people, we know that what we need is to help to remove that misunderstanding, that ignorance, and to find a way to offer a support that changes the way people look. So that is not so easy sometimes for myself. This last few months, I have participated in a course online. It's called White Awareness. It is a course for those of us with European ancestry, white if you like, and our practice is to try to see the roots of racism in ourselves, because racism doesn't just come from nowhere. It has to manifest in the hearts of people. So you practice to look deeply to see how our bias, which is often unconscious, can impact the lives of other people. Just our unconscious decisions collectively can create situations that where there's injustice. So it begins with that kind of work. So that is something we can start to put our energy into, and facilitating, helping people to be able to look together and to be able to speak out about things too, is also one of our trainings in the 14 mindfulness trainings. Like even at the risk of our own safety, to speak out about situations of injustice. That is our calling. So it takes some. So we have to see where we're at and train for that, and have a community support so that we can be wise and we can be effective. And because we don't want to do more harm, we want to do something that will actually help. It takes a lot of deep looking, and but the danger is to say that we don't have enough insight, so we can't do anything. That would also be a mistake, right? So we have to do what we can, moment to moment, and one way to start is by seeing how we ourselves are responding moment to moment in interactions and situations, so that we can hopefully be more skillful, more compassionate, more wise. So thank you for listening. I hope it's helpful and long. Thank you.
So maybe we have one more question. We have two, but yeah, please. And yeah, two more questions, and that's it.
I am curious to hear your advice on how to deal with resistance to meditate. And the thought, oh, it's so hard.
So one more question. We would like to answer a little bit short, not too long, because we will end at 12 o'clock. Thank you.
So, dear brothers and sisters and community, thank you. Thank you for being here. Sorry. My question is related to Thầy Pháp Tuyển answer about right perception. And I wonder, how can we know that our perception is right or not? I try to practice, try to, look deeply or ask questions and make experiments with my perception, but still the feedback, the result of my questioning, of my experiment, also come back to me through my perceptions. And so how can I know that it's a true perception? How can I know that it's not a result of my conditions, and it's not, and how can I know that it's not an illusion of myself?
Dear Sangha, I want to answer number 6 about how to deal with the resistance to meditation. When I first practiced mindfulness, especially sitting meditation, I find I have a lot of earache, and I think I was concentrated. It was too concentrated. So I came to Thai and asked, maybe meditation doesn't work for me. And he was pointing at nature, like in front of where his hut is in the upper hamlet, and this beautiful scenery of the French landscape. And he said, why don't you just look at your mind like you look at that whole landscape, like watching television. So it gives me a new insight that maybe I'm trying too hard, and maybe I have an idea about meditation. Sometimes we think that when we meditate, we have to be totally happy, or nothing is going on in our mind, like a blank state of mind, very calm, very solid. Even if you look at the whole Sangha, we all look very still and calm, but there's a lot going on inside. So even for monks and nuns, we have a lot going on. But whether we are there for it or not, with mindfulness, with our breathing. So I think that, first of all, to make it enjoyable, you can enjoy your breathing without forcing your breathing to be longer or shorter. Just be there with the breathing. It's very helpful to put your hand on your belly and feel the breathing. And I do that a lot with the children. And also to choose a meditation that you feel comfortable with. Like, let's say walking meditation is something more pleasant for you. Then you can try walking meditation. And once you get the rhythm of what is meant to follow the breathing, of follow your step, coordinate with your breathing, or being aware of your body, then you can do any kind of meditation. I think some people come to the retreat just to do deep relaxation. It's a wonderful thing. You need to rest, so you can do deep relaxation. So there's many things. Singing meditation. So I think you can start with the one you like the most and to deepen that meditation. And then you can try the other meditation. And I think the key is to not push yourself too hard, and also to do it more with enjoyment. Thank you.
So, dear respected Thai dear friend, I will answer the last question. How do we know if our perceptions are right or wrong? The Buddha said in the Diamond Sutra that where there is perception, there is deception. But because when we perceive something, we base on the form, the appearance. So sometimes the eye we look, the ear we hear, is not exactly correct with the reality, right? Everyone agree with that. Sometimes we think that is right, but actually it's wrong for the other person. It's right for us, but the other person is right. And for us, it's right, but the other person is wrong. So it's very difficult to say right or wrong. For example, I am a mindfulness observer for the winter retreats. You know, when my responsibility to take care of my sister for the practice. So if they don't go to the meditation, sitting, or Dhamma sharing, I have to remind them. And this is my work to do, and I think it's right for me to remind my sister to participate in the activity. But some of them think that, oh, I am cooking, I'm tired, I'm this and that. And if I remind, more often, it will be, they think, oh, it's not right, So, but for me, I think it's the right thing to do, but it creates something else for them. So this is just, I give example very easy so you understand. Sometimes you think this is right, but the other person is wrong. Maybe when you live in family, you live with your parents, you live with your spouse, or your children. Your children said, I like this, I want to wear this, but you said, no, this is not good for you. This is not beautiful for you. You have to do this, you have to do that. But for them, they don't like it. So it's very hard to say right or wrong. But looking deeply in the Buddhist teaching, everything we have to looking deeply to the reality. If we do something or we perceive something, it's bringing to ourselves or the other suffering, it may be wrong. If we perceive something and we say something or we do something, we can cause the suffering to other. It may be wrong. And if we see something, we hear something, and we say something, we bring the other people happiness, to ourselves happiness. It may be right. So this is my, I think, and my understanding. So when I see something happen, I need to look deeply to see it's right or wrong. So we can do better next time. We can perceive things better next time. Like when you walk in the dark, if you don't have the light, you step on the string, you think it's snake. But next time, you bring the torch light and you sight, and oh, this is string, it's not snake. So this is the way we have to do for ourselves when we live in the relative world, when our eyes and our ear, our nose, our six senses cannot cut through the reality. We had to live, we had to see everything relative eyes, and we have to accept it and to practice to bring us more happiness. So the practice of mindfulness can bring us more peace and more happy for our life, our daily life. I know that every one of us cannot be skillful completely. We are not enlightened yet. We still on the way of the practice, and sometimes we unskillful, and we can cause others suffering. We cause ourselves suffering because we are not mindful. So the practice of mindfulness can help us to be more mindful. So when we perceive something, when we hear something, when we look something, we need to be, are you sure? This is the Thai, our teaching always remind us, are you sure? Are you sure that the way, this is right? Are you sure this is wrong? So this is the practice. Thank you for listening a question and answer. We try our best, and I think time to end. We hope that we thank you very much, and we appreciate your presence for the retreat from beginning to the end. And now we can stop here. We twist on the bell, and you can go and rest for 5 minutes. Sorry. You can have some drink or go to restroom, and we come back here at 12. So we have closing circle for the retreat. Thank you very much. Thank you, brother and sister, for sharing.